Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with a new video. I hope everybody is doing well. Wherever you are, hope you're having a good day or a night. I'm just about to get off work. It's about 4:50 here in New York City, so just about closing time. I don't know why I keep throwing the in there. But anyway, excuse me, closing time. And as it says here, I'm going to talk about The Last of Us Part 2 because I refuse to be silent. Right, so the last video that I did talk a bit about Naughty Dog, but it was in relation to other companies and other people that have been abusing the copyright system that YouTube has. And that video was more about me calling YouTube to task, or rather say taking YouTube to task and calling YouTube to the carpet about how they refuse, in my opinion, they refuse to enact the rules that are set, in particular as regards to copyright system, impartially, consistently, and fairly. But now I wanted to address some of what's been going on with Naughty Dog. One second. Sorry, I got an alert on my phone. But I wanted to address what's been going on specifically with Naughty Dog in particular. But first, I want to actually give Naughty Dog and Sony, but in particular Naughty Dog, applause. Now you may be wondering, why are you giving them applause, Gene? Simple. Because they have played themselves. Not only have they played themselves, they have royally played themselves. Now, why do I say that? Why do I say that they have royally played themselves? Well, for many reasons. But let's first focus on this character, right? This is a character who has been receiving a lot of attention, often negative. So this character is Abby. And without giving too much away, although if you're watching this, you probably already know, but the character of Abby is one of the very controversial elements that were leaked, that came out in this leak in what? April 27th? Right? And she is a villainous character who does some very violent and villainous things to at least one of the protagonists from the previous game. Now, what I wanted to talk about here was the idea of representation with this character and what this character is people are saying is supposed to be or represent, and how it's a moot point. Now, I have been hearing rumblings online. I can't confirm if anything is true yet, but I have been hearing rumblings online that the character of Abby is supposed to be a transgender woman. And some say that the character of Abby is just supposed to be a very large, powerful, muscular female. I want to explain by exploring each possibility and explain why at this point it doesn't even matter. It's a moot point. So let's tackle the idea of the character of Abby being trans, being a trans female in particular. If it's true, and I want to be clear, I have no proof, I have no confirmation that it's true. It's just internet rumblings. But if the character of Abby is supposed to be a transgender woman, well then, this apparently is how Naughty Dog, and in particular the creative director Neil Druckmann, and believe me, he has earned his name of, or rather his very derisive nickname of Cuckman in this instance. But this is how apparently he's okay with portraying a trans character if the character is meant to be a trans woman. He thinks this is okay. He thinks that showing a trans woman, especially a trans woman in this case, as this uber masculine character, this uber masculine design, and portraying them not just as villainous, because I think that you should be able to portray any type of person or group as anything you want, so long as it serves the story properly. But to portray Abby, if she's trans, as not just a villain, but as a violent villain, as a violent, brutal, villainous, does, in my opinion at least, does not help the situation when it comes to trans representation. Now, I'm not trans, I'm not part of that community, I'm from the outside looking in. But to me, if this character is meant to be trans, then the equivalent on my end would be creating a villainous black character and having them play up every negative ghetto stereotype that there is. It would be deeply offensive. And I very rarely get offended for other people. But I will admit, I find this image offensive on a variety of levels for various reasons. From personal and aesthetic base to, again, what this character supposedly is supposed to represent. But if this is meant to be a trans character, then good going, Naughty Dog. Good going, Neil. You are so progressive. You are so progressive and so concerned about trans representation, especially of trans women, that you decided to create a character who is the visual embodiment of every tasteless she-male joke ever made at a trans woman's expense. So if that was your goal, well then, congrats. You've created a visual stereotype. Thank you. Thank you. Instead of using real-life, well-known, prominent trans women like Caitlyn Jenner or Laverne Cox, right? You decided, Neil. You decided that the way you were going to do this, the way you were going to address this and put in trans representation, if that was your goal, was to create the type of character or the type of visual that when you have people who are concerned about like trans women using the women's restroom, at least some of them probably imagine a trans woman to look like this as opposed to say like this. And you thought this is trans representation. We are just so helpful. We're just so helpful. Right? So it's a moot point because this is terribly, at least in my opinion, I'm just one woman in the world, but in my opinion, it is terribly offensive to portray a trans woman in this way, especially if you're supposed to be pro-trans representation, right? This is the way somebody, I think, who is anti-trans representation would portray a trans person. Again, if that's what the character is meant to be. I'm not saying that the character of Abby is meant to be a transgendered woman. I'm just saying, if that's the case, then good job. You done made a fool of yourself, Naughty Dog. You done made a fool of yourself, Druckmann. Now, here's the thing. Oops, went a little too far ahead. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Let's say that Abby is just meant to be a very muscular, powerful woman, as this lady here who you just saw a moment ago because I forgot where I am in my own video. But here's the thing, right? Even if Abby is just meant to be a very powerful, muscular-looking woman, right? This still plays into negative stereotypes about women who are in athletics. Because again, the character of Abby is uber masculine looking, and as you can see here, this woman, who I think is a competitor in the CrossFit Games, is still very feminine looking, despite being larger and more muscular than your average woman. Right? She doesn't look like this in the slightest. So even if the character is just meant to be just a powerfully built, muscular woman, guess what? You're still now playing into stereotypes that women who look like this want to look like this. In other words, uber masculine, right? Are trying to be men. And especially given the fact that, again, the character of Abby is a very violent, very, very, very violent character. commits a very violent act against one of the characters in this game. You're now playing into the idea that is prevalent in sports, right? That everybody's on steroids and that everybody has roid rage. So thanks for that. If Abby's just meant to be a very very muscular and fit woman, like this lady here, well, guess what? You've now turned her into every stereotype that people have against women who work out and who bulk up and who are bigger. In my personal opinion, if you want to have a non-traditional woman, which is, I think, visually the point of Abby, of all the things she could probably represent, it's probably meant to be, regardless of whether it's a trans woman or whether it is a very muscular woman, she's meant to be non-traditional. But as you saw with the examples of Caitlyn Jenner and Laverne Cox and even that athlete, right? Even non-traditional women still want to look feminine. And you can't have that at Naughty Dog today. Except for Neil Druckmann himself, pretty as he is. But anyway, in my opinion, if you want to see good representation of non-traditional women, of women who are physically built and strong and powerful, then play as Zarya in Overwatch, right? So there's that. The next thing is that, and this is probably the most important part, my little rant about Abby's character design aside. Druckmann decided, or rather, Druckmann, I guess you could say, Druckmann, Naughty Dog, Sony, decided to take complaints that were about the content in the game, content in the product that they want you to spend $60 for, right? Whether it be the character of Abby and her role in the game and her actions in the game, or the supposed increased focus on Ellie's sexuality. Druckmann and company, right, Naughty Dog and Sony, decided to take what was originally complaints and dissenting opinion about content in a video game and escalate it, right? Because by becoming the banhammer, by trying to strike down anybody who talks about this and says negative things about it, like it's friggin' playing whack-a-mole, right? Of course, while I'm trying to record a video, somebody just has to go on by. See, Windows were a mistake. But anyway, instead, right, they decided to become the banhammer, right, and just play whack-a-mole with everybody. And now, they've taken something that was originally complaints about content and have now made it a battle over censorship. Because now people are going to keep talking about this because Druckmann and company keeps gloating about how they will fire people who don't share their reviews, right? Which means that people who are scared to lose their jobs will not speak up, which creates an incredibly toxic culture, which gaming has been, especially game development, right? There's been talk of, crunch and all this other stuff, right? And developers leaving, right? All the tea has been spilled. But they decided to take what was initially about content in a video game and now escalate it to a battle of censorship where you have various YouTube channels fighting against them, and Muso Unlimited, who is going to people's videos and striking down, or at least trying to strike down and put copyright strikes on channels, because Naughty Dog and Sony ain't man enough to actually do it themselves. Like, it's on behalf of them, they're not actually doing it. So, thanks a lot, Sony. And you, Druckmann, you, you poor man's excuse for Jon Snow, you, you decided to, at least in an ideological sense, live up to your name and kneel before Anita Sarkeesian. You decided to take the opinion of the most hated woman in video games because she's not a gamer, Neil. You decided to take her words, you decided to be influenced by her work, not actually speak to actual women in your company, right? You decided that you were going to listen to her and only her. And what's happened? You have become as toxic as she is. Right? As I said earlier, he's been gloating about people, about firing people who don't share his views, who he deems, and only he deems, as phobic. Or an isterophobe in some fashion. And guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen, Naughty Dog? Guess what's going to happen, Neil? Not only are you going to suffer, in my opinion, the Battlefield 5 effect. Remember when that game underperformed because one of the head honchos at the time at the company ran his mouth and insulted people who complained about the protagonist of that game being like a woman with a bat or a sword or whatever it was, when that game series was known for being a fairly I don't want to say realistic, but I guess true to history World War II shooter, and how people kept saying, unless you were a Soviet woman, you were not fighting on the front lines in World War II, right? So not only, Neil, have you created a Battlefield 5 situation for your company, you have, in my opinion, have severely damaged, if not sunk, the name of your company. Because here's the thing, Neil. Whereas people, at least some people, and I think a sizable amount of people, were probably just going to skip this particular game at first because they didn't agree with what was in the game once the leaks came out. Now, Neil, you're going to have more and more people turn not against this game necessarily, not just against the game of The Last of Us 2, but against Naughty Dog. That means all the other log-running franchises that you have, like Uncharted, like Jak and Daxter, like Crash Bandicoot. Those may possibly suffer as well because people, at least some of them, are going to boycott you, are going to boycott Naughty Dog. Not just boycott one title in a video game franchise, not just skip out on one video game franchise, but they quite possibly might start boycotting anything with Naughty Dog's name on it. You have severely damaged the brand. In my opinion, you have effectively committed career suicide. Not by making a bad game. That happens to everyone. That happens to every company. In fact, several companies, you can look at the history of any company and you'll find several flops and several fails. Just ask Nintendo. Remember the Virtua Boy? But here's the thing. You can bounce back from failure. You can bounce back from failure. You can always make a comeback. But you cannot, or at the very least, it is incredibly difficult to bounce back from bad faith. It is incredibly difficult to bounce back and rebuild your brand name when your brand has literally turned on people who did nothing wrong, whose greatest sin was voicing their opinions about news. And it happened to involve you. You want to lash out at them and act as if they're the reason why the leaks happened. No, Naughty Dog. The reason why the leaks happened is because of you. Speaking of the leaks, hackers. This is your argument now. We were hacked. We didn't change passwords. There was information in older Naughty Dog games. I don't believe that for a second. I still believe that it's the disgruntled current or former employee. But regardless, let's say for the sake of argument that it actually was hackers, right? Guess what? It's still a moot point because the hackers are not the people you are chasing. The hackers aren't the people you are chasing. The hackers aren't the people that you are trying to ban. You're not banning hackers. You're not banning modders. You're banning people, or at least you're trying to ban people, I should say. You are trying to ban people who are simply talking about it. You're even trying to claim memes, and you're striking, what's the word I'm looking for? Outlets, I guess you could say, like Bounding in the Comics and YouTube channels and all this stuff because they're talking about it. And that is what you are trying to slow down and to suppress. Not the hacker hacking and getting past your lame AF, I should say, security systems, but the people who are negatively speaking on this and saying, hey, we don't like the content, we don't like Naughty Dog's crunch culture, we don't like how Naughty Dog is trying to silence everyone inside and outside, we don't like Druckmann, and how dare you, Druckmann, quote, Kurt frickin' Cobain, and misapply and misquote and misappropriate his words. Screw you, Druckmann. Here's the thing. I feel like Kasumi in Mass Effect, in a sense. Except that when she sarcastically talks about how the council in that universe didn't believe Shepard, right? Whenever she goes, Reapers, right? This time it's hackers. It's hackers. Right? Sure it was hackers. Sure it was hackers. Sure. But anyway, that's the video. And I know it got a little rambly. It's probably not one of my best. I got lost in my own video at times. But if nothing else, it comes from the heart. And I know that Naughty Dog might find me because I use that image of Abby several times. But you know what? I don't care. It's an important part of the video because it helps me explain myself. And it helps me to express how I feel about this character and about Druckmann and this company and the damage he has done. And if Naughty Dog or Sony or Muso Unlimited or whatever want to come and try to bring my channel down, then you know what? I will respond appropriately because I have done nothing wrong. It is not wrong to say your piece about something. It is not wrong to comment on a current event. I got those images. I got every image from the internet. The only image not from the internet is this one because I made that myself. But otherwise, every other image is from the internet. You can literally go to Google Images. That's where I get all my imagery from. And with the exception of this one, I don't claim any of them are mine. I have a line right in the description that says images ain't mine. But if they want to try something, then you know what? I will take whatever legal action is appropriate and necessary. And we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's the video. Let me know what you think. And I will see you all in the next one. I have some older videos that I gotta finish. And I have new stuff that I want to work on. So I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day or night. Bye.